Ready? Are we on
Ready, we on?
YouTube?
We are on YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. Are we on Facebook?
Hello, YouTube. This is show I Can't Drive 55. Tim always says the numbers, and Tim is out today. And I feel a little bit like when your parents go out of town and you make a bunch of changes and do whatever you want. So I changed the studio.
We even tried smaller chairs, but it didn't work out for us.
We did. Because, when your parents go out of town and you throw a party or something.
Play.
Did you do that?
I always did that. They came home one time and caught me. Junior year of high school.
I got caught once too. That was
That's
terrible.
All right. Very embarrassing getting caught by your parents.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
All right, so we are back to the Will It Fun series, and today, as you can tell, if you picked up on the theme of the deals that we trickled out throughout the week, the theme is real estate. We're going to be talking about real estate and talking about what we like to fund, what doesn't fund. David, when you get an initial package, what makes a good file or makes it easy for you to review so you can get an answer back quickly?
It's funny, Rhoda, the most important thing we need to look at when we get a package is pictures. Interior photos, exterior photos are really the most key things we look at. Just to be able to know if we want to proceed with that package. So photos are very key to what we're doing. And a real quick summary sheet of what the estimated value is, what they're planning to do with the money, and what's owed on the property or any encumbrances on the property. With that, we can give a really good indication of which way we want to go on the file for you.
Okay. And just as a general guideline on the loan to value, what are you looking at there?
Well, as you know, we go up to 65% loan to value on single family homes and 55% on commercial. It's kind of what our loan to value range is. Sometimes we do make exceptions on the commercial side if it's a really decent or clean property.
So single family, like a 4-bedroom or a 4-unit complex, you'd consider that
We would not consider that single family. That's a 4-unit. We would go about 60% loan to value. A single family home would be just that, a single family home, where
Okay.
we're at 65.
Okay, got it. All right, so going back to deal number 5, just to bring you up to speed, that was the Piggly Wiggly. Check out my notes, and it was a $1.8 million appraisal, and they had done some tenant improvements for $150,000. And he had owned it 3 years, and he was looking to get capital to invest in an assisted living facility. Tell us more about that deal.
Well, that deal was going to be a Piggly Wiggly, but as it sits right now, it is not marked as a Piggly Wiggly. It's considered another product. They don't quite have the franchise agreement with Piggly Wiggly, which for you people out there that don't know what Piggly Wiggly is, it's a very large supermarket chain in the southeast region of the country. So these people were just starting to operate a grocery store without the Piggly Wiggly franchise, so it really is just a mom and pop type of operation, and it didn't really lay out like a grocery store.
Does that matter for you, time in business?
Yes.
How much time in business do you like to see?
It's not really time in business as it is more the equity side of things.
Okay.
With a Piggly Wiggly or a national franchise, we would have felt very safe making that transaction. Due to the fact that a Piggly Wiggly was going to be in place but not yet in place, we didn't feel comfortable making the loan because the loan to value was way too high. The grocery store was not making any money, and it was yet looked really poor. Did not look like a grocery store the way it was set up, and it certainly didn't look like a Piggly Wiggly. And they were still in the middle of, while they were operating a grocery store, they were still in the middle of doing leasehold improvements on it. So it had a lot of complications,
Okay.
had a lot of moving parts. It was a big loan for, I believe, $1.8 million their request was, if I
The
remember
appraisal
that.
was for 1.8. I don't remember what they were looking for.
It was about $1 million they were trying to get.
Okay.
So with the loan, at least that amount from what I remember. So a loan that size without really having a national franchise brand with it and really looking not great as a grocery store, really turned us off, and we weren't able to proceed with the file just because of the loan to value, the mere fact that it was not a national chain store at the time as well too. But remember, LTV is our key to everything, and this just didn't really have the loan to value or the equity that we felt comfortable with.
And even though he had other assets, he couldn't use them because their loan to value was too high, or he just wasn't willing to use them?
No,
so
he was
it
willing to
didn't-
put up other assets, but the loan to value just wasn't
Still
there.
wasn't there.
Right, and with us, we're an equity-based lender, and all we really look at on our projects is the equity in these commercial properties.
Got it. Darren, how did people vote on this one? Were there comments on this one? I don't remember. What was the shakeout on that?
You would have to give me a moment. I need to pull that up.
Cool. So Darren's going to check out to see how we voted and investing in the assisted living facility. Do you look at the investment too, or how the assisted living was doing?
No.
No.
Because it has no bearing on what we're doing. I did know what he was doing, but it had no equity in the deal that he was doing. He was going in as what they call subordinate financing position on the assisted living property.
Okay.
So a lot of moving pieces on that deal. Not a real clean looking property, not a real solid looking property, and he didn't have the national franchise on with it.
Okay. So could he come back in a couple months and you would give him?
We'd love to review this deal if he gets the Piggly Wiggly franchise.
Okay. All right. Any update? No comments? Nothing from anyone on this one? All right. Let's talk about Deal 6. That one is a veterans building. The next one, were there any comments on that one? For the that was a steel building for a 14-unit veterans complex, and he was behind on his
pull it up right
personal. Perfect. Okay, I just keep talking while you pull it up. On the next deal, on the this is the one where it was the 14-unit steel building, where he was behind on his personal mortgage, his credit card, and cash reserves. How did that one go?
That one was a tough deal for us. It's in Mississippi. It's in a rural town in Mississippi. It's a converted steel building. But we looked at it. We saw the potential revenue that was making. We saw the revenue that was currently making. We weren't real thrilled with the client themselves because of their history, them being behind on everything and all their mortgages. However, with the equity that was allowed in that building in Mississippi and the potential income of a veterans center in Mississippi, even though it was a rural property, a 14-bed, it was nice on the inside, we actually made an exception and made that loan on a steel building because of the way they converted it. So we did fund that deal in Mississippi.
Great. So why don't you like steel buildings? What's wrong with them?
Well, steel buildings are just that. They're steel buildings. There's no real, your value is going to be more in the property than it is the building in many cases, and your really true value to a steel building is the ground, the concrete laid, and the sewer that they brought into it. So there's real no value in a steel building.
Okay.
And they're manufactured. But this one, he put a really kind of a cool little roof on it, so you couldn't really tell it was a steel building when he was done with it, especially on the inside.
Okay. Real entrepreneur.
All right, so I have the Piggly Wiggly information up here.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, it's a little difficult to find them because of the naming structure of the video, so I apologize
Yeah,
for that,
no, we were
everybody.
talking about that. So we're trying to work through, for you people at home, just making sure that each deals, the 4 or 5 that you're supposed to work through each week, making sure that those are easy for you. So if you have any comments or suggestions, definitely take them, but we noticed that this week too.
Yeah. All right, so we actually had 7 people who said that it would fund. Nobody said it wouldn't.
Oh, sorry.
And somebody had a comment.
That was the gotcha. Did you catch it?
Of course it'll fund after the tenant gets the upgrades done and Piggly Wiggly moves in.
Okay,
Right.
whoever commented that,
Otherwise,
Ring
if
the
they
bell.
default, we'll be stuck with a half-finished supermarket with no tenants that cost us nearly 5 times what it sold for 3 years ago.
whoever put that, you're a genius.
Who said
Joe
that?
Lewis is your best friend.
Joe Lewis?
Joe Lewis.
Good
Joe
job.
Lewis Arena from Detroit.
Detroit, right.
There you go.
The boxer. Good job, Joe. You called that, you underwrote that deal perfectly.
Okay, great. Were you able to find the next one?
I have them. I just have to pull them.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, well that's good to know. So steel buildings are tough. What else is tough that you do not want to see that people should, when they hear that, maybe don't target that audience?
Land is just a tough market. We don't do any land, and we're just not a real big construction lender. I mean, we will do a deal where there's maybe a little bit of construction that needs to be done, a little bit of rehab, but we won't do a deal where it needs a full rehab. That's just not our market.
That's another market. Just to be clear, we do have programs and underwriting for that, but not specifically with
For
David.
CRE,
Right,
right.
right. But as far as you for buildings, would you do a church or a mortuary or a bar?
We've done bars in the past. We've been successful. As far as mortuaries, they're really a one-off. We'd have to review the deal. We're not going to stand in line looking to put our portfolio through a lot of mortuaries, because if you take them back, you just have a very limited market of who will buy that from you. But we will look at them on occasion. And who was the other question you had?
Church or log cabin.
Well, log cabins are fine. Churches are like this. If there's no steeple on a church, we will look at it and entertain doing a church. A lot of times churches or religious facilities move into malls or strip centers, and they're really can be converted easily if there's ever a problem with the church paying. When you get inside to a church where it's a steeple on the building, those get a little tough, and we don't really do a lot of them.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so just to be sure, so the second deal you were talking about is the mortgage, personal credit card, or other debt?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So we have 8 people who said that they would fund. Nobody thought it wouldn't. And then we have a couple of comments on here. Again, Joe Lewis. A tin building in rural Alabama, huh? If it was a honky-tonk, it might be a good deal. I wonder if the $14K a month is a rent guaranteed by the government. We should be able to give him 50% of the appraisal for slightly less interest than his credit cards.
Joe Lewis.
Are you looking to hire somebody? I think
need
you
you
are.
here.
Joe
You need
Lewis,
to move
call.
out. You need to call and get out to California.
You understand David.
As Stan Howard said, I think it'll fund because his other property is paid off and can be used for collateral. And Corey, any other revenue based on the loans?
I don't understand the question. Oh, no.
That is the question.
Any other
is there
revenue?
any other revenue based on loans?
I still don't understand the question. Sorry about that. Any other revenue based on the loans?
Corey, if you're watching this, add a few more comments.
Thanks.
Okay, great. So deal 7, that was the FedEx route, and this was another. Did you catch it? Because this was not a CRE deal.
Business term loan, right?
This was a term loan, yeah. So this is a startup looking to buy a FedEx route. They did not have the financials to make sure that the FedEx route could support the debt service payments. But what is critical on these, particularly for startups or for acquisitions, is that the borrower needs to have industry experience, 3 to 5 years industry experience. And on this one, the gentleman worked at Best Buy and his wife was an office manager. So they really didn't have any experience in logistics or transportation. And that is going to be very challenging to overcome. The program also requires for an acquisition 20 to 30% of injection, and they didn't have that either. They were short. They only think I had maybe 10%, something like that. Did we have any comments on that one? That one was kind of cut and dry, just kind of so people didn't just think everything is CRE.
We did have
people on their
one
toes.
comment, and let me go and pull it up. So we did have 4 people say that it wouldn't fund, or it would fund.
Oh.
One person said it wouldn't fund. And your comment is, guess who it's from?
Joe
Joe
Lewis.
Lewis.
He's
Joe
on.
Lewis. They don't have what it takes right now. He's going to be short about $60,000 on the down payment. I don't know how these route deals go. If there's a truck involved, we may be able to use that as a collateral and then see if we can load them up with credit cards.
Yeah, it's hard for $350,000 with the credit card program, but with people like that. So $350,000 with credit card program is a lot. So
a lot.
It is a lot. Okay, deal number 8, right here in Costa Mesa, California. Do you want to remind the borrowers about the trampoline park?
Sure. What it was is a trampoline park here in Costa Mesa, California. Guy's owned it for 8 years, him and his wife. It is making money. It is successful. The building is fine. It can be converted to really anything else if there was ever a problem with the trampoline park. For you people out there that don't know what a trampoline park is, it's just an indoor trampoline center with trampolines everywhere you go, and kids go and have birthday parties there, and they have a lot of gymnastics practice there and
A lot of
cheerleaders.
people break their legs and stuff. Do you care about the insurance or liability or
No.
anything like that?
It's not our issue.
Okay.
We make sure we have insurance for fire and damage,
Okay.
but a liability claim is a different issue.
Okay.
Okay, and normally a lot of those companies set up LLCs and they really don't carry a lot of liability because the liability insurance will really eat into their profits.
Okay.
So that's what you got to kind of watch for. So we look at the building As you know, in CRE, we don't look really at the type of business, we don't look or care what the business revenues are. We're looking really at the equity in the building. And unfortunately, the numbers didn't work on this deal. I believe it was worth about 1.5 or
1.8, yeah,
8?
5.
1.5, and what was their request?
They owed $850,000 on it, and then they were looking to get $250,000 out.
The numbers don't work. On a deal like that, the most we would lend is 55% loan to value, possibly because of the location in Costa Mesa, California, which is a big market. We may go up to 60% loan to value in certain pockets across the country on commercial. But unfortunately, they just didn't have the equity to fly that deal.
So on this one, you said you weren't really looking at the revenue of the building. It wasn't that important. But then on the Piggly Wiggly, you said it wasn't cash flowing yet. So sometimes you do look at the cash flow, sometimes you don't, or explain the difference on those
We're going to look at cash
twos.
flow on the 14-unit, on apartment buildings, on assisted living, on anything where you have income coming in. We're going to look at the cash flow. When I had a Piggly Wiggly, it was brand new. They didn't have a way to support their debt at that time to make it. And even though the bounce park or the trampoline park, we didn't really get into their income. We looked more at just the raw numbers, and the raw numbers just didn't make it happen.
So you didn't even get to the point of digging deeper.
Right, and as you know, in CRE and private money lending, we're just not going to dig in there, and that's why people come to us, because they want their money fast, they want it simple, and they don't want to answer a lot of questions.
Okay, got it. Were there any comments or anything interesting on this one?
Yeah, actually, so we had one person who said that it would fund, 4 that said no, it would not fund.
Yeah.
And then we do have a comment on here. Let me see.
From Joe?
Joe Lewis?
You may be right. Sure, there's a deal if everything is on the level. He could get $175,000. We can look at getting a personal term loan for the rest.
Okay, so looking maybe at a different program.
Joe's looking outside the box.
Yeah, because they
Take up
had
a little
good
bit in
credit,
CRE,
didn't
and
they?
they did.
So if you have good credit, yeah, don't just pigeonhole yourself into the CRE. That's a good point. Maybe an SBA to refinance, depending what the rate and term is on the $850,000, could do something there.
Right.
Right. Okay, that's a good point. Again, Joe, call David. He's looking to
We
hire.
are. You're awesome, Joe.
Where do you live, Joe? All right, and then the last deal that we are looking at was also a veterans facility, this time in New Jersey, 19 unit. Let's see here what they appraised for. Appraised for $450,000. And he needed to get current on his first mortgage. 20 years time in business.
20 years the family's owned this. It's another home where they have veterans in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the family for over 20 years now. The lady, according to her, had identity theft and had her money stolen, and every story under the book. Bottom line, we don't care. We look at the equity in the property. She needed about a 53% loan to value. A little bit rougher neighborhood in New Jersey. We were okay with it because of our loan to value. We made her the loan, and all's good so far.
Can you be more aggressive on the veterans facilities? Like you said, you went up to 53, maybe in a rougher area, you want to stay below 50%. Does the income source help impact how high you can go up?
If it's government employees, the answer, they're government paid,
Uh-huh.
not government employees, government paid, guaranteed, yes, but what you got to remember is that operator could still steal that money and not pay their mortgage. So we really have to focus on that real estate portion of our deal.
Okay. What about any comments, Darren?
We actually do have a few comments.
Okay.
And let me go ahead and pull up. So we have 2 people said it would, or 1 person has said it would fund, 2 people said it wouldn't.
Let me hear why they wouldn't.
No idea, it doesn't say.
They just do the thumbs up, thumbs down. I think, because when I initially watched this, and I don't know if they fund or don't fund, is for me, the appraisal was $450,000 and they were looking for $300,000. For the LTV was maybe high. So do you remember how much it funded for?
I don't remember the exact number. It was in the low 2s.
Okay, so again, keep that in mind as well. Maybe someone wants $300,000, but they take less, and so that's a key
What they
component.
want and what they can qualify for are always 2 different things. We want to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Joe Lewis wrote on this as well. If it appraises for 450,000, we'll loan him 270,000, and may be able to give him an RBA if he needs a little more. And Stan Howard said, I actually think it may fund, but around 90,000. It won't be what he asked for.
Okay. I want to comment on getting him an RBA. Sometimes those are hard for these types of facilities because they don't have, if you're getting paid from a government entity, you maybe only get one deposit a month, or maybe they pay you every 2 months or something. Just depending on how many deposits you get per month is whether it's a good fit for a cash advance. Really, cash advance companies want to see more deposits, at least 3. Sometimes you can do 1, but it's tough, and so. But that's really ideal for people who are cash flowing on a more consistent basis with about a deposit at least a week. Anything else? All right, I think that's it. Anything you want to add to?
Well, I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate the comments. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to look at your deals out there. I'm always available to answer any questions for you, so please pick up the phone and call so we can move forward with you. What else is there? And Joe Lewis.
Subscribe to the YouTube station.
Subscribe to the YouTube station. Tim will be back next week. He's on holiday in Bryce Canyon, so that's great. Anything else? I think that's it. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will be continuing this series throughout the week, so look for more videos and look to challenge your underwriting skills, and maybe you too can be as good as Joe Lewis. Bye, everybody.